guys? It's your boy Scraps Bronco here. Today we're gonna be telling you guys the scary cabin story. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1. So once upon a time, there was a cabin. Me and my parents were camping, and we stood there for these 5 days. And me and my brother started walking towards our cabin and started unpacking. And my parents fell asleep after 3 hours later. My parents started sleeping. And then, after two minutes later, we heard a bang. And then me and my brother woke up and saw a black figure, just a figure staring at us through our window. It came from outside too. It came from outside also. And it looks like he had something in his behind him. It looked like a knife or a gun. So after we called the police, it was gone. We told our parents, but our parents didn't believe us. We had security cameras there, so we checked those security cameras. My parents saw a guy with a bloody smile, and the thing that was behind his back was a combat knife from the army. And then, when I was 21 years old, I took my kids there. And then I told them to stay by the cabin because when I was younger, I saw something. Like after 24 years later, the shed hasn't been broken down. So my kids left near our cabin, and then they saw a middle-aged man in his mid-40s. And he had no knife, he had a gun, pointed it at my daughter. And then, after 2 minutes later, the cops were standing in the middle. They had the SWAT team, helicopters that is, pointing at his shed. And why didn't I not? Okay, but I don't care. But I wasn't really paying attention. And then the guy started running, sticks rumbling towards each other, and then grabbed my daughter, and the cops was there and shot him. And then after 2 hours later, it was nighttime, he came back from the dead. And then he breaks through our house, through our cabin. And then he grabs his knife from behind him. He grabs my son screaming on the top of his lungs. And then we wake up, run towards the man, towards the subway. And I see my son getting carried away, and then after 2 minutes later, see my son hanging from the ceiling fan of the subway ticket booth. Alright, you guys can see from the title, Scary Cabin Story, but I still have another scary story for you. So once upon a time in New York, I was taking a trip to New York, and my parents rented a hotel out there. It was fun. So we just stood there for 6 more days, we were laying down for sleeping. We were sleeping, and then we heard running down the hall and laughing. Scraping through the walls. It sounded like a sharp object clinging. And honestly, he was mentally insane. Guys, I was just doing something. And then we broke through, and then we heard banging on our door. And he's like, "Let me in." And then my parents woke up, and they said, "Who are you, and what do you want to come in?" He was like, "I'm homeless. I need somewhere to stay." We peeked through the hole. It was a guy insanely smiling at my dad. And my dad was the toughest in the family. And then he opens the door. It's the guy, tries to stab him. Close the doors on his arm. His knife drops to the floor. He says, "I swear I'll fucking kill you." And then my dad starts having a tear down his eye. So we called the cops. And the cops said, "We've been tracking him down for 2 years straight already. He killed his family and escaped from his mental hospital." So they caught him 2 years later. They caught him 2 years later, but escaped. And then they find him 2 days later in my other hotel room with my kid. And then he passes out on the bathroom floor. Looks like he was trying to steal something from us. And then he started screaming insanely when the cops arrested him. Looks like he was 20 years old. He had blood all over him. His hair was greasy like he never took a shower. That was the end. He got shot after 2 years later from escaping his mental hospital. But what if I didn't close the door on him when I saw his knife? Would I have been his next victim? Alright guys, I was scared. I have a nice story for you guys. And this is another Fortnite. This is going to be a Fortnite story. So once upon a time I was playing Fortnite, and then I run through the guy. It was 3 AM at night. and I was only 5 years old. At that time, so I was playing my DS. And then after I heard this game called Fortnite, and I started playing for 2 days, and it felt good, and I started playing. I saw this guy, his name was Nightfall223. I was like, hello. He responded back, hello kid. I was shocked, because I knew his voice really deeply. He sounded really sketchy. And then he's like, where do you live? I got candy. So I told him where I lived. But then I see 1984 Nissan in my front door. I was shocked because I don't know. I was only 5 at the time. I didn't know what to do. So he knocked on my door and said, hello kid, I got all the candy you like. And I was like, Dad. I screamed, Dad. And he was like, yeah, what's up, son? I was like, do you know this guy? He was like, no. I was like, I don't, do you know him? I'm like, no. And my dad said, how'd you meet him? I was like, on Fortnite. And then my dad says, what's Fortnite? I was like, it's a game where it's battle royale. And then the guy bangs on the door 5 times. It says, open up kid. I'm not gonna hurt you, I swear. And then my dad opens the door with his 9mm. Points it at him. He only had a knife, so he didn't know what to do. Like, my dad points his gun at him. I was like, my dad was like, get out of here. If you come here again, I'll shoot you. So the guy disappears. After 2 minutes later, he comes back. My dad's at the door peeking through the hole. And then, turns out, he had security cameras. We had security cameras at the time. Remember, I was only 5 years old, so I didn't know anything. So after I told him my location, he came back. My dad shot him once on the arm. He ran. So my dad called the cops. And then after he kept stalking me for 6 times in a row, he finally got caught and went into a special prison for stalkers. Alright guys, if you enjoy this video, remember to leave a like, peace, and subscribe, and comment what was your best story.